A very good evening and welcome. This is News First Weekend Primetime News here on MTV Sports and Shakti TV. I'm Ramesh Irugal Bandara. Where the new chairman of the sector of Sri Lanka cricket explains his vision for the future of cricket on a Sports First exclusive later on in the bulletin. But before that, let's start off with a look at the headlines tonight.
MPs Bandula Gunawardena, Salinda Dissanayaka and SM Chandrasena removed from the SLFP Central Working Committee. Measures to file legal action against CBSL governor in Singapore. Government in agreement to the Supreme Court's determination on the 19th Amendment. Woman killed after attempting to board a moving train.
On to our top story tonight. Parliamentarians Bandula Gunawardena, Salinda Dissanayaka and SM Chandrasena have been removed from the SLFP Central Working Committee. Speaking to Newsfirst, the parliamentarians said that they had been informed of the removal of their membership from the SLFP Central Working Committee by the chairman of the party through a letter. They add that, however, they still continue to be members of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. A program to raise awareness among the public on food safety in Sri Lanka took place yesterday in Colombo under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena.
The meeting was organised by the World Health Organization's Sri Lankan office in lieu of World Health Day. The program was named From Farm to Plate and raised awareness of correct food patterns and also food preservation. Minister of Health Dr. Rajda Senaratne and several ministers and MPs were present for this event. Providing relief loans to low-income earners are taking place across the island. One phase of this particular program took place today at the Sri Anandarama Temple in Ranna. 205 families that come under the purview of the Divinaguma Community Bank in Ranna, Tangol were provided loans of 100,000 rupees each under this program. The ministers speaking at the event pointed out that while providing relief to the people, there is also need to make constitutional amendments.
The 19th Amendment to the Constitution is being discussed in Parliament. We have received the Supreme Court's interpretation on it. As a government, we bow down to the ruling of the Supreme Court. Within this concept of good governance, we will not interfere with the courts. We will not influence any Supreme Court judge. The period where the Chief Justice was brought before the ruler and was ordered to give a specific ruling is over. During the past, Chief Justices were compelled to visit temple trees, the Presidential Secretariat. For what? To discuss the verdicts. Such was the situation in this country. However, do not forget that because of the imposing of certain conditions on the Divinagama Bill, the Chief Justice was sent home. The period where decisions of judges were made at temple trees is over.
Various views are being expressed on the 19th Amendment to the Constitution along with other matters of political importance. Here are some of the views expressed at various locations across the island today.
You might recall that during the recent election we made a promise that we would either abolish the executive presidency or reduce the powers and vest parliament with powers. It was the United National Party that first said that the electoral system needs to be changed. That was during the UNP government of 2002. For 13 years, Dinesh Gunawardena has been attempting to create a new electoral system. Was he able to do so? Can we do something that was not done for 13 years in 100 days? The Elections Commissioner says that he needs a year to create a new electoral system. Linking the constitutional amendment and the electoral system is an injustice caused to the people of this country.
The
19th Amendment to the Constitution was brought in on the 20th. The 19th Amendment affects the country in a positive manner. The 19th Amendment will be a historical moment where a new chapter without corruption and fear in the country will be created. We hope that all the political parties and the MPs will take an important decision on behalf of the country.
Paksha, Mantrivaruwan, මේ රට වෙනුවෙන් ඒ වැදගත් තීන්දුව ගනී කියන එක.
සති දෙක තුනකට කලින් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ විවාදයක් තිබුණා. විපක්ෂයේ මන්ත්‍රී කණ්ඩායමක්.
There was a debate in Parliament 3 weeks ago. A group of MPs from the opposition brought a proposal. They said that the government's development work is not moving forward. They said that all the work was suspended and the contractors were not paid. Such was the debate. I thought they were speaking of the people in the villages. But on behalf of whom are they speaking? They are speaking on behalf of the smugglers. Contracts were given to 5 top-tier smugglers on the Northern Expressway. When our government came into power, the contracts were given to 5 persons without calling for bids and not even following the proper tender procedures. Come next week, it will not be known as the Northern Expressway. It will be known as the Central Kandy Expressway. We will call for tenders next week and commence the process.
මේ ටෙන්ඩර් පටිපාටි කැඳවීම සඳහා ලබන සතිය ආරම්භ කරනවා කියලා මා තමුන්නාන්සේට කියන්න කැමතියි.
මොකද ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨ අධිකරණය කිව්වේ? පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ 3/2 තිබුණාට බෑ.
What was the interpretation of the Supreme Court? It cannot be done even with a 2/3 majority in Parliament. You need to ask the people if this needs to be changed or not. We have made a new proposal. If the 19th Amendment to the Constitution is to take place, the 20th Amendment to the Constitution also needs to take place.
ගම 20 වෙනි ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවත් වෙනස් කරන්න එකට ගේන්න ඕන කියලා.
On to our developing story tonight. The AntiCorruption Front says that it hopes to seek the assistance of Singapore in order to investigate the treasury bonds issued by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka that led to much controversy.
The Anti-Corruption Front says the committee appointed by the Prime Minister to investigate the treasury bonds of the Central Bank that were issued on the 27th of February is yet to release its report.
As the Anti-Corruption Front, we are continuing to search for details. Our attorneys too are seeking information. Arjuna Mahendran has committed this act while being a citizen of Singapore. According to Singaporean law, that is a wrongdoing. We have already received information that there is no possibility for him to obtain a PR here while being a citizen of Singapore. There is a possibility in the law that the Department of Immigration and Immigration too can file a complaint against him. We are investigating these claims at present. We are discussing as to whether to complain this matter to Singapore for an immediate investigation. One of their citizens has served as the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and is involved in a major financial malpractice. We request that investigation under the laws of immigration and immigration be conducted. We are gathering facts for this investigation.
Welcome back to the news. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that under the leadership of President Maithripala Sirisena, the people of this country can celebrate the Sinhala and Tamil New Year without any financial debt.
The Prime Minister made this statement at an event to activate the Wi-Fi zone in the southern province under the programme to provide free internet facilities across the country. Minister of Mass Media Gayantha Karnathilaka was also present for the occasion.
ජනතාවට සිංහල අවුරුදු ගන්න පුළුවන් පාලනයක් තමයි අපි මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන ජනාධිපතිතුමා යටතේ ඇති කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
Instead of an administration that consumes the country, President Maithripala Sirisena has created an administration where the people can celebrate Sinhala Tamil New Year properly. All this while, the people felt a great weight on their shoulders. They were living in difficulty. Why? They had no money. They got into debt just to celebrate the New Year. How can this continue? Although the previous regime obtained loans, that money was used for development projects. That is the only way they got commissions. So we decided to change this by increasing the total demand and increase the use of money. For the first time in 6 or 7 years, the daily expenditure in the country reduced. That was in the month of March.
ප්‍රථම වතාවට අවුරුදු 6ක් 7කින් පස්සේ ලංකාවේ ජීවන වියදම අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා මාර්තු මාසයේ.
In line with this event, an event to distribute nutrition packs to pregnant mothers was held at the LPT Divisional Secretariat.
Issuing a communique, the All Ceylon Hindu Congress points out that the Tamil people who paved the way for good governance are frustrated as their expectations have not been met ahead of the new year.
Leader of the All Ceylon Hindu Congress, Kandaya Neelakandan, in a communique notes that the aspirations of the people to be resettled in their own lands have merely become a dream. The All Ceylon Hindu Congress, which says that as a clear decision has not been taken on missing persons, persons detained by the army and persons being imprisoned, mothers and widows are living in an uncomfortable environment. The communique reads that it hopes that during this new year, solutions will be provided to these issues without delay.
Prime Minister of Bhutan, Tering Topge, who is on a 3-day official visit to Sri Lanka, paid homage to the Jayashree Mahabodhi in Anuradhapura this morning.
The Prime Minister of Bhutan, who arrived in Anuradhapura, called on the Atamasthanaadhipati Venerable Pallegama Sirinivasa Thero and obtained his blessings. Subsequently, Prime Minister Topge presented a Buddha statue to the Thero. The Bhutanese Prime Minister thereafter paid homage to the Jayashree Mahabodhi. A sapling of the Jayashree Mahabodhi was presented to the Prime Minister of Bhutan based on a request made from that country. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Tering Topge called on the Chief Prelate of the Malwatu chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thero, and thereafter paid homage to the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic.
The Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment has urged the general public to provide any information they have on other Sri Lankans who are trapped in Yemen.
As Yemen transformed into a conflict zone within a span of a month, 43 Sri Lankan nationals who were caught in the midst of the fighting were removed to Djibouti by a Chinese-flagged vessel. The last 16 persons from that group arrived in Sri Lanka last night.
We were inside the city. The surroundings were bombed throughout the day. We could not even sleep. If we remained there for another day or two, we would have been trapped inside.
It
was with great difficulty that we were able to get out from there and reach the border. We were helped a lot to get to Sri Lanka from there. Everything was provided without any expense to us. We are thankful to Newsfirst for helping us come back to Sri Lanka by informing the government of this through the media.
Newsfirst, which directed the country's attention to the plight of the Sri Lankans trapped in Yemen, continues to search for any available information of any other Sri Lankan who is trapped in the conflict-affected Yemen. It was unearthed that another group of Sri Lankans are stranded in Yemen. Acting Director General of Public Communications of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Satta Rodrigo, said that the group had refused to provide the required documents that will assist in their return to Sri Lanka.
A recent analysis has shown that most accidents occur as a result of rushed judgment and negligence. It has also been reported that most of these accidents are related to train accidents.
Commuters who are in a rush to reach their destinations often forget their own personal safety. Travelling on the train tracks and boarding a moving train are both punishable offences.
Commuters often violate the rules and regulations when travelling in the train. Sometimes this results in the loss of life as well. You can suffer injuries when boarding onto a moving train. Commuters also fall victim to accidents when they attempt to disembark from a moving train.
Commuters who only tend to think of their journey do not give a second thought on breaking the law. Such action end with serious injury or at times with a loss of life.
The hustle and bustle at a train station during the festive season is a common occurrence. However, there are unexpected accidents that also take place. This morning, in an attempt to reach the destination, a woman lost her life, leaving her 2 children without a mother.
35-year-old Vitanake Niluka arrived at the railway station this morning with her husband and 2 children to undertake a journey ahead of the new year. The mother and her 2 children were stuck in between the train and platform when they attempted to board a moving train.
The woman and the 2 children fell, then a man got down to help her. However, the train had moved ahead. She fell in between when the train was moving.
A passenger who attempted to rescue them also suffered serious injuries to his legs. The mother and one of the children who suffered injuries were rushed to the Ragama Teaching Hospital. However, the mother, who was in a rush to board the train, breathed her last upon admission to the hospital. The 7-year-old child who faced this ill-faced tragedy suffered only minor injuries and was fortunate to live another day. However, this act of attempting to reach a destination quickly resulted in a child losing her mother.
Yet another tragic train accident was reported this morning from Hikkaduwa.
A 14-year-old girl on her way to a tuition class was killed when she was knocked down by an express train travelling from Maradana to Matara. She was a resident of Mitiagoda in Kalupe.
Chinese assistance, Pakistani assistance helped us a great deal in that conflict when we did.
Do you think we are moving away from the east and getting close to the west?
We can't avoid it, we can't escape it. So you can't blame the international community. We ourselves need to respond to it.
What is the way forward for a country like Sri Lanka? 10 years in the UN system, 5.5 years as a diplomat. What is the way forward?
The funeral of the late chief prelate of the Askiri chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Udugama Sri Buddha Rakita Thero, will take place tomorrow. The mortal remains of the late chief prelate is currently lying at the Upali Parava Memorial Hall at the Askiri Vihare for the public to pay their last respects.
Crowds in their numbers continue to arrive to pay their last respects to the late chief prelate of the Askiri chapter. The Prime Minister of Bhutan, Shering Tobgay, also visited the Askiri Vihare to pay his respects to the late Udugama Sri Buddha Rakita Thero. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe also paid his last respect to the late chief prelate today.
බුද්ධ ශාසනයේ ලංකාවත් පිටරටත් දියුණු කරන්න කරපු සේවය අපි අමතක කරන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් උන්වහන්සේ මේ ගිය අවුරුදු කිහිපය තුළ
We will not forget the service he rendered to the Buddha Sasana in the country and abroad. We need to be grateful for what he did over the years. I also hope that the late chief prelate rest in peace.
නිවන් සප ලැබේවා කියලා මම ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා.
Meanwhile, the commander of the Sri Lanka Army and several other top brass of the three armed forces were also present to pay their respects to the late Most Venerable Chief Prelate. The Inspector General of Police was among those present today to pay their last respects to the late Chief Prelate. Politicians too were present at Askiri Vihare today to pay their final respects. Western Provincial Councillor Susara Dinal also paid his respects to the late Chief Prelate today.
Askiri Mahanayaka Hamdurange
We arrived here to pay the respects to the mortal remains of the late Chief Prelate. We also expressed the condolences of the chairman of the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited, the board of directors and the entire staff of the organisation. We hope that the late Chief Prelate, who rendered an immense service to the national and Sambuddha Sasana, will rest in peace. And as an organisation, we have informed the clergy that we will render our assistance in carrying forward the programs of the late Chief Prelate.
The funeral of the late Chief Prelate of the Askiri chapter of the Siam sect will take place tomorrow afternoon at the police grounds in Kandy.
The suspect arrested in connection to the murder of a woman in Kotaketana Kahavatta was ordered to be placed under remand custody until the 24th of this month. The decision was taken by Acting Magistrate of Palmadula, Chamath Suravira.
The 18-year-old son of the murdered woman was produced before the Acting Magistrate Palmadula today as a 48-hour time period granted by court to the Colombo Crimes Division to detain and interrogate the suspect was over. The police ordered the magistrate to direct the suspect to a psychiatrist and submit a report to the judicial medical officer. According to the confession made by the suspect to the police, the Sri Lanka Navy searched the canal Kotaketana hoping to find the murder weapon. Although the police and the Sri Lankan Navy searched the canal for almost 4 hours this morning, they were unable to find the murder weapon. Chandrani Swarnalata, a mother of 3 whose murder on the 5th of this month had not led to any accused, was laid to rest 2 days ago. When Newsfirst visited the area yesterday, the locals stated that they cannot believe that the statement made that the murdered woman's own son had killed her. Sociologists are of the view that this village with many unanswered questions should not be allowed to be isolated, urging that it is a serious social requirement.
It was reported that a number of illegal activities have been taking place in this village. In order to prevent such criminal behavior from rising in these villages, there needs to be a development in the school system. Villages usually are centered around a temple or a boundary of significant importance. There needs to be a program that would connect the people with the temple. This requires spiritual development. When people visit the village, the isolated state of a village disappears. In addition, the village needs to be made a place where the rule of law is properly implemented so that a proper legal environment will be created. I believe that such a mechanism needs to be implemented so that the crime rate in the village can be brought down.
Area residents of Damana, which is located in close proximity to the Malayadi Reserve, says that timber smugglers have cut down around 40 teak trees in the reserve. The residents add that even though the reserve is of no use to the villagers, it has become a source of great importance to timber smugglers.
The residents of Ambalan Oya and Neetha had planted the teak trees in the Malayadi Reserve around 15 years back. The villagers raised allegations that the timber smugglers are taking use of the trees in the reserve. The very recent incident was reported yesterday. After receiving information that the timber smugglers are in the reserve, the police raided it together with the Grama Sevak officers of Madawalalanda and Ambalan Oya after consulting the Damana Divisional Secretariat. The police were able to seize teak logs, a motorbike and a saw that was used to cut down the trees even though the suspects escaped. If the trees that were planted by the villagers are cut down by a villager, that person is taken to courts. But these thieves cut it down at night. Now the politicians with their power and abilities have cut down almost half of the 100 trees. No one comes to speak of this. Not even the wildlife officers address this. The police meanwhile stated that investigations are underway to arrest the suspects.
And it's time now for Action TV.
The United National Front government that administered the nation from 2001 to 2004 attempted to implement a socio-economic program named the Yali Pubudamu Sri Lanka. Not only was this program strongly criticized by the then opposition, the Yali Pubudamu Sri Lanka program was also the reason for the then government to suffer defeat. Despite this, the government that followed also implemented a program named Yali Pubudamu. This program, which drew the attention of the World Bank as well, was later implemented under the purview of the Ministry of Economic Development. It was under the Yali Pubudamu program that a paper and paper-related handwork factory was established in the Karola Gaswaba area. This project was considered as a solution to the issues faced in the area, which was the spread of water hyacinth plants that overran most of the canals, streams and tanks in the area. Technical assistance was provided to 5 rural organizations in the village to use water hyacinth plants as a resource to manufacture paper in this factory that was set up under the Yali Pubudamu program. While the operations of the factory were vested with the 5 rural organizations, the Ministry of Economic Development was supposed to provide a sum of 13 million rupees as capital for this purpose. Even when only 3 million of a total of 13 million rupees was given from the 5th of December 2012 to June 2013, these rural organizations have managed to drive forward this industry purely through their commitment. This clearly defines their attitudes and their aspirations. The products that came out of this factory during the course of the aforementioned period of 6 months were taken by the Ministry of Economic Development for various exhibitions, such as the Datakihul exhibition, without making a single payment. The 16 women who worked at this factory were faced with a situation where they received nothing for their efforts and were compelled to seek the assistance of the Labour Commissioner.
We enrolled with this program. Later, some of the women went abroad for employment. I am one of them. I did not achieve anything good from travelling abroad. I faced many difficulties. I had to come back to the country even before my contract was due. Please rectify this program and give it to us. Although this was initiated by the previous government, this has gone into ruins. These women have been rendered helpless and continue to face hardships.
With the new technology and new ethics taking over the paper industry the world over, it is evident that the paper products coming out of Karulagaswawa cannot pose a competition to the markets. However, these products are the results of a tussle with the water hyacinth plant. Therefore, the Yalipubuduma program needs to be revived, and the Karulagaswawa eco-friendly handmade paper project also be given new life through private investments. Will this initiative be able to once again bring a light to the lives of those living in Karulagaswawa? District Secretary of Putlam, this is over to you.
And on Newsfirst tonight, we take a look at the plight of the Sri Lankan rubber industry.
Rubber traders across the island are facing hardships as a certified price for rubber is not present. They reiterate that it is difficult to continue in the trade if a certified price is not given.
When you visit a shop, they say that even though the government has announced that 350 rupees is a certified price, they cannot give for such a price. They purchase a rubber for a lesser price. They tell us to go to Kalatura to obtain the balance in payment. What is the meaning of this? We have no means to live. A rubber is purchased for a lesser price and we are rendered helpless.
Newsfirst was able to capture this footage in Mivanapalana, Horana and Kirigalhena.
We depend on the rubber industry because rubber is not purchased anywhere due to the festive season. I cut down some trees in my cultivation and sold them so that my children can celebrate the new year.
Meanwhile, a ceremony to present the 350 rupee certified price for the rubber cultivator allocated by the 2015 budget was held today under the patronage of the Minister of Plantation Industry, Lakshman Kirialla. Checks were presented to 1,000 farmers covering the areas of Mavanalla, Rambukana, Kegol. The event was held in the Mavanalla town.
As promised at the top of the bulletin, Chairman of the Sri Lankan Cricket National Select Committee, Kapila Vijayagunawardena, says that the responsibility of the committee is not merely limited to selecting the players. He made this view in an exclusive interview with Sports First today.
A product of St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, Kapila Vijayagunawardena played for Sri Lanka from 1988 to 1992. A right-arm pacer, Kapila Vijayagunawardena also played for SSC and has played in 2 test matches and 26 ODIs for the country. Kapila Vijayagunawardena elaborated on the responsibility of the National Select Committee.
The team that has been picked by the Honourable Minister of Sports is a very good one, and we hope to perform our duties to the best of our abilities towards the welfare of Sri Lanka cricket and the country at large.
Vijayagunawardena adds that influence and criticism is a normal thing faced by a selection committee.
We have not had the time to really focus too deeply into the forthcoming tours, which we intend doing in the near future. But in selection, there are always challenges that come up, which can be immediate, medium term, and long term. So we will address those issues when we meet, and in consultation with the management of the national team and the coaching team, and we will address any issues that need to be addressed. And also I think one of the immediate challenges would naturally be the retirement that has been announced by some of our very senior players, stalwarts of the team. So they are going to leave a big vacuum, and so we need to address those concerns and bring in young players into the team. But I'm confident that we have the resources, and then that the young players will mature into those roles within a short period of time.
Before we wrap up the news tonight, Atkala is an area located on the Navalapitiya-Gampula main road. A tragic accident caught on CCTV footage shocked the area today. The accident was the result of a collision between a three-wheeler and a lorry, which went on to claim the life of one person. We leave you tonight with footage of this accident captured on CCTV cameras. I'm Ramesh Bandara. Have a safe evening and good night.